Well, if you haven't done all your shopping yet, it's time to get on the computers, baby. Today is Cyber Monday, December 2nd, 2013. Where has the year gone? It's the dog in the kennel on a Monday here on FingerLakes1.com with another edition of Weber This Week. Good morning, everybody. I trust you all had a great Thanksgiving. I certainly did. I know that you probably shared it with your family, and certainly that was a very festive time. I had a chance to go to my brother's in Rochester for a nice Thanksgiving meal, and I'm still having turkey sandwiches a couple of days later, and they are dynamite. Well, let's welcome you to the show and to our studios, and today we have nobody on the couch. Every so often we like to do a show with no guests. It's nice to vent on several topics, which, believe it or not, folks, I have a tremendous number of topics to talk about this morning. Let's talk about SU football. The coroner, the medical examiner, was in the operating room, and they were about to put the white sheet over Scott Shafer in the 2013 Syracuse University football edition. And the skeptics would have been wondering, was Shafer the right pick? What happens to SU football program with another possibly no bowl? Everybody goes to a bowl. There's 148 bowl games, it seems like. But guess what? As they started putting the white sheet over Shafer and the Syracuse Orange football team, a finger started to move on the body of Shafer. And all of a sudden, the eyelids started to move. There might be life after death. All of a sudden, 12 seconds to go, a swing pass to the left flank to a kid named Paris. He dukes one guy, jumps in the end zone, time over, game over, SU wins.
Yes.
Talk about fortunes. Jim Senecropi is smiling as he was in Clyde the other night preparing for our first broadcast, which we'll get to in a little while. But you know something, Jimmy? It was an outstanding effort. Give Terrell Hunt a lot of credit. He certainly was outstanding, and it was a huge win from skeptics, from Syracuse football program, really not moving off neutral. This is a huge win. Now it allows them to get some extra practices in. They're going to obviously go to a minor bowl game, which is okay. A bowl is a bowl. And I think, Jimmy, it really was unbelievable the way they pulled that game out.
Yeah, it's on one level, it's great because it's great to beat Boston College. Syracuse
Exactly.
is better than Boston College and everything.
Right.
And it's nice to prove that. But from a perspective of a program trying to rebuild itself, Marone got us to a certain level. Now it's Scott Shafer's first year. You want to see us continue to excel and improve.
Yep.
And so it was very important that we go to the bowl game. But like you say, for the extra month of practices, for the experience, for the exposure.
Exactly.
And for momentum. So now it's 3 of the last 4 years that Syracuse has been in bowl games. I think the program is back now to a point where, it's not a laughing stock anymore,
Exactly.
Where we're competitive, and now we can look to move to the next level. And one of the best things about that win is it puts us at third place in the Atlantic Division of the ACC behind Florida State and Clemson. So we're ahead of Boston College. We're ahead of NC State, Wake Forest. And so in our first year in the ACC, when everybody said, we can't compete in the ACC, well, we came in third in our division. So it's I can't say enough about how huge a win that is. Even for the interest of the fan base going into next year, they know they're going to go to everybody that went to that game was glad they went, and it was an experience like they may have had, in '87 when Syracuse beat a team, or it was really, really, really big win to pull out. And I'm happy for Shafer, and I'm happy for all Syracuse fans.
You have to wonder, though, some of the SU fans may have given up on him because, not to give it up, in fact, of attending the Dome, they were concerned about the Pittsburgh crowd. And what they did before the Boston College game, they offered 4 tickets for $44. That's $11 per pop. And I asked somebody, did they throw a Dome dog in there with it? So, I mean, when you have to go to those margins and those price levels to get fans to show up at the Dome in what had to be the biggest game, obviously, in the last several years for the Syracuse Orangemen, you wonder about whether or not the fan base is kind of saying, well, I got other things I want to do except go to the Dome and support the Orange. So I'm glad they did the deal to get people there. 4 tickets, $44. I remember that being plugged last week on the local television. But, hey, it's a huge win. I must tell you, though, and I'm not against Scott Shafer. I think he's trying his best. He's a lot different than Marone. You see his face. He gets red in the face. We'll get to Marone about those worthless bills in a little bit. But, I have to say, as a Monday morning quarterback, and this is Monday morning, I must say that I'm a little worried about his calls sometimes he makes For example, I understand Norton misses a chip shot, 31-yarder, under a dome, no wind. And, folks, the term in golf is you never want to say it, so I'll spell it for you, S-H-A-N-K. He misses a 31-yarder by 10 yards. I couldn't believe it. I got one good eye, as you all know. I watched that kick, and he missed it by 10 yards right. I couldn't understand how you could miss it. And I thought it was blocked, but it wasn't. So a little while later, the Orangemen are threatening. It's zip-zip. They're down there at the 2-yard line of Boston College, and they're looking at 4th down and goal. I was in the pits, as I call it, which is the man cave for me at my apartment. And I'm thinking, okay, bring out Norton. He's going to knock home a 19-yarder. My God, if you can't knock a 19-yarder, put him on the lacrosse team. What do? They don't go for the field goal. Shafer decides to go for it on 4th and 2. Okay. I quickly remind myself the quickest way to get A to B is a straight line. What do? They give it to Smith, who's an outstanding back for Syracuse, and he goes off tackle. Good night, Irene. They gang tackled him. Not a shot in the world of making that end zone from 2 yards out. They end up with 0 points, and I've said to myself, what is he thinking about? Why not the chip shot? Give this kid another chance. And by the way, he kicked a couple later in the game from over 40 yards. So, he had a bad kick, but get 3-0 lead. Better than nothing. And I thought Shafer made a couple of bonehead calls. That's just my personal opinion. What do you think? The Orangemen win. Now they can practice. Now they await their foe, their formidable foe.
Maybe there's a chance that they don't get into a bowl. They need to still get invited. And right now they're kind of at the level where there's enough bowl-eligible teams to fill the bowls. And there's 3 teams. Rutgers is one of them. If they win next week, then there's one more team than bowls. And South Alabama is one, but not too worried about them because if they get in, Syracuse would get chosen over South Alabama.
So there's a chance they may not get selected?
Yeah, there's a small chance. But
wow.
I just think with the national draw that Syracuse can be, the name, I think that they would get selected over others. But it's not a guarantee, which is kind of disappointing after the high of that.
I didn't know that. I thought if you got 6, you automatically went.
No, they're eligible. But, in years past, there has been not enough eligible teams with all the bowls there is. So I think that one way or another, Syracuse is going to find their way into a bowl, but it isn't guaranteed.
I've always been of the opinion the bar for bowl games is too small. I think it should be 7. I think Syracuse got lucky this year. They let the Wagner game when they played the family reunion with Robert Wagner. I think that counted toward their 6, obviously. I think, in not picking on Syracuse, I think it should be 7. I think it makes teams try harder, play harder. I think 6 is just too low of a number. That's just a personal opinion. We'll wait and see whether the NCAA ever changes that. So we'll have to wait and see. But a big win for the Orangemen. Give credit to Terrell Hunt. He had an outstanding game. And Boston College defense knew that he was going to start running with the ball, and they still couldn't stop him, which impressed me. So kudos to the Orangemen, and I know you Syracuse fans are smiling. I know Jim is this morning. Let's go to Geneva, New York. Kind of a shocker. Hobart has had such an unbelievable run of football success the last few years under Mike Craig. But man, oh man, St. John Fisher came in and spoiled the party. Yes, they did. They crushed the Hobart Statesmen. I believe the final score was something like 27-6. They held Webb to something like 74 yards. So credit St. John Fisher. They just hammered poor Hobart, and Hobart now is done for the year. But they shouldn't be ashamed of themselves, Jim. They've had an outstanding program. They've had an outstanding run, and I guess it will continue next year.
Yeah, nice. Congratulations to Hobart on a great season. You can things happen in postseason. I'm sure they'll be back there again next year. And good football up there in Geneva. Anybody around here in this area should next fall head up there on a Saturday and spend, $5, $6 to get in the game. Yeah, go in there and watch a Hobart football game. They're tops. They're the class among the class of D3.
And I got to tell you something. If my buddy Gordy Heinzman is checking out the dog this morning, or anybody knows Gordy, tell him the dog has finally admitted on live air, that I will be paying for his breakfast. I had a wager with Gordy, a friendly bet way back when we had his granddaughter in here, Madison Hillmeyer, who has ambitions of being an ESPN Sports Center anchor. I made a bet, which I thought was a pretty good bet, that Alabama would run the tables in the regular season. Not Alabama loses to Auburn. And you have to wonder, Nick Saban's an outstanding coach. He makes, $6 million a year? Not a bad job, eh? Alabama has the ball on the Auburn 13, decides to go for it on 4th and 1. They get stopped. They try a 57-yard field goal with time running out. It doesn't get to the goalpost. This kid from Auburn grabs the ball and runs 100 yards for the winning score. Are you serious? Is this sort of like a melodrama? Yeah. Alabama loses, and give credit to Auburn. Unbelievable. So, Gordy, I owe you breakfast. I'll be in touch this week, and breakfast is on the dog. But, hey, I am of the opinion, by the way, that the way it's shaping up right now, and the BCS, as you know, Jim, could change. It is obviously going to change. Right now, it's Florida State, Ohio State. Let's see, the third-ranked team at the BCS is Auburn. Am I right about that? Let me see. It's Florida State, Ohio State. Oh, I know. Alabama's fourth. So it is Florida State, Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama.
And if, obviously, Florida State wins in the ACC championship game and Ohio State beats Michigan State, then there's your championship game, and there's no SEC team in there, which means for the first time in a
long time.
Is it 8 years maybe that the SEC team won't win the national championship? So I think that's great for college football. I think that's good for Syracuse, and I think it's good heading into the playoff system next year.
I know Syracuse is a member of the ACC, but in all due respect, the purists and the analysts around the country have no respect for the ACC football conference, and they have less respect for the Big Ten. If you think the ACC is a weak conference, and most purists think it is, the purists really hammer Ohio State. And I know they don't pick their conference, their Big Ten. We all know that. But you talk about a weak conference, they are unbelievable weak. Ohio State gives up 41 to Michigan. Michigan goes for the win against Ohio State on this past Saturday, doesn't make the two-pointer. They end up losing by a point. Ohio State gives Michigan 41 points. If you look at the docket of games that Ohio State has played, you would not be impressed. I know I'm not impressed. And let me tell you this. I personally will tell you right now on my show this morning on December 2nd, 2013, if Florida State plays Ohio State, I won't even turn on the TV. That's how disappointed I will be in watching that one. I have no ambition to watch Ohio State play in the national championship.
Florida State's kind of earned it, though.
They have earned it. I don't like Ohio State, though. I think Ohio State doesn't deserve it. And as to quote a famous line from Saturday Night Live, one of their skits, Ohio State, in my judgment, is not worthy of becoming a national championship. I'm sorry. To me, they do nothing for me. They don't even get me excited at the thought of them being in the game. So we'll have to wait and see as the dust clears, but not impressed with I like Florida State, but I don't like Ohio State. What do you think here on a Monday morning? And by the way, a lot of speculation. You know, we live in this great country that we call the United States of America, and I'm going to a point where I think people should recognize if myself or Jimmy gets arrested today, we should be considered, based on the Constitution of our country, presumed innocent until we are found guilty by our peers in a jury box. I'm a little tired of all the speculation now that certain writers may not vote for Jameis Winston of Florida State, that phenomenal quarterback, for the Heisman. He should win the Heisman by a landslide. There is nobody in the college landscape right now that deserves any consideration except for Jameis Winston. What does that kid have to do? Phenomenal player. And yes, there is that cloud over his head that, according to a woman, she was sexually assaulted by Winston several years ago. I'm not on my show here to tell you that I condone that. Obviously, I don't. If Jameis Winston did sexually assault this woman, and it is proven in a court of law, he should be sent away for several years. That's my idea of justice. But I hope Jimmy agrees with me. We are presumed innocent. And I'm going to tell you something. If we get writers out there not voting for Winston because of the allegations and the cloud of mystery, to me that's unfair. Yeah. This kid deserves to be the Heisman Trophy winner unless the Attorney General comes out and says, we're going to arrest this kid. Jimmy, I don't think it's fair to him not to get the votes for the Heisman.
No, it isn't. And the timing's bad because the problem is okay, then he gets it, and then he gets convicted, and now all of a sudden your Heisman winner's in prison.
It won't be the first time that the black eye, but how you can sit there with a ballot and not circle this kid's name is beyond belief. Again, our Constitution protects us, I think, and I'm only making fun of that, I think. We're presumed innocent. We are presumed innocent. And they got to find somebody guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And to me, I don't think you can be the judge and jury before the judicial system and the attorney general and the district attorney comes after him, if they come after him. And we should hopefully know something in a few weeks. And by the way, Winston's attorney is doing the right thing. He's trying to get this remedied one way or the other. Arrest him or clear him. And I support that. But I am telling you right now, if I find out that this kid does not get the Heisman Award, I may throw a brick through my TV set. That's how disappointed I would be, because this kid deserves better than that. And if they find him guilty down the road and he's got the Heisman, oh well, so be it. We all make mistakes. It is Weber This Week on a Monday, December the 2nd, 2013. And the Bills do it again, ladies and gentlemen. They are close to flipping the chart to 14-9. 14 years without a playoff appearance. 9 years in a row with a losing record. Book it, Daniel. We'll be back with more after this. Cayuga Lake National Bank. Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora. A fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquors, Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her great team will find that right spirit for you every time. Tell Amy the dog sent you. Steve Wadhams, Wadhams Enterprises, your employer of choice. Proud supporter of this show and local athletics. Steve Muller Motors, smullermotors.com. Quality, affordable vehicles, both foreign and domestic. Bob and Leslie Ullman, owners of the Ullman Theater in Lions, as well as the Newark Pilots, a minor league baseball team with a major league ballpark. Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, Waterloo. Best mott sticks around, where you can enjoy a drink and some laughs. SenecaFallsCountryClub.com. Awesome 18-hole layout, offering a 12-month payment plan. Home of the toughest par 4 in central New York. That'd be number 16. Marshall Auto Sales. DickMarshallsAuto.com. Awesome used vehicles, where you not only can buy a great vehicle, you can gain a great friend in Dick Marshall. Wilson Press, wpress.com. Seneca Falls, Rich Ricky, my good friend, and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Rich Ricky, Wilson Press, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week. Ah, yes. Kudos goes to Brad Jones. I understand. We're going to have him and his son in. Greg down there in old Lockport. They bought a fitness center down there in Lockport. And him and Greg will be on in the next several weeks, one of those dates, to talk about this adventure. But you'll be impressed, Jimmy. Brad, who's much younger than the dog, since his son and him bought a fitness center, is working at his cardio. Brad says he's a much more fitter and he's much more stronger, and he sent me an email to remind me that he's going to hit the drives another 10 yards, which would put him out at about $140 off the tee. So I thought you ought to know that. So Brad, I hope you're checking out the dog this morning, and let us know when you want to come in with Greg to talk about this new venture. They got themselves a nice fitness center over in Lockport. Of course, Greg and Brad Jones, obviously from Seneca Falls, New York. By the way, let's talk the NFL. You know, folks, there's a lot of things that make me happy. I'm happy when I win the lottery. I haven't won that yet, but I'm happy if I win Mega Millions. I'd probably quit Finger Lakes 1 and go to the Bahamas for life. But, you know, I'm happy when the Bills lose, because I have always believed they are not a good representation of Western New York. Now, why do I say that? People say, oh, dog, you pick on those poor Bills. You're just merciless. You know, you all know that I work part-time in the booth at the Thruway, which is a fun job. Believe me, it's a fun job. And I see people come through with the Bills hats, the Bills shirts, the Bills, all paraphernalia. And I always make a comment like, oh, my God, you're a Bills fan? Yeah, it's getting a lot tougher, ain't it? Yeah, right. And, of course, I use the famous line, do you folks that are Bills fans, do you put needles in your arms or your butt or your leg or your head? Do you put long needles in all of your anatomy before a Bills game? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we are close to flipping the chart here on FingerLakes1.com to two numbers, which are 14 and 9. And those are not good numbers. 14 is 14 years without a playoff bid. Now, let me explain something to you. And Jim knows because he follows sports.
It's hard.
You could make the playoffs some years 8 and 8. It isn't like you got to be 12 and 4.
Everybody makes them in the NFL.
You know what? The Bills are on the verge of being 14 years without a playoff appearance. And what is more staggering stat for me anyways is the number 9. 9 years with a losing record. Right now they're 4-8. Do the math. I'm a good math guy. Mynderse Academy, 63. GPA, 63. But I started math. 4-8 is 12. They got 4 left. They got to win all 4 to get to 8-8. I don't think it's going to happen. Their last game is in New England. Let's assume they're going to win the next 3, which is a big assumption. My point is, folks, Doogie Marrone, like Malarkey, like Geron, like Chan Gailey, like these other famous coaches, I don't know what it is about that program. And I got to tell you something. It's almost hilarious. Me and Jim were talking during the commercial break. Ball game tied, 31-all. Pass goes over to Stevie Johnson. You know, Stevie's a hot dog. I'm not a big fan of Stevie Johnson. He's got talent, but he's a hot dog. He's running down the field.
Game over, right? He's going to get tackled. They're going to kick a field goal. The Bills are going to win.
Now, if Jim Senecropi and the dog were at Katy Stanton, where I used to play sandlot football when I was a kid, back in the 50s, a lot of my folks checking me out this morning will remember that. If I was running down the field ahead of somebody, the first thing you realize, the guy behind you is going to try to jar the ball out of your hands. That's football 101. I don't have to be a brilliant Harvard Rhodes Scholar to tell you that. They're going to try to jolt it out of your arm, aren't they?
Hold on to it, Steve.
Okay, so what they do, they jolt it out of Johnson's hand. Up, fumble, going the other way. Up, they stop Atlanta. Here they go again, the Bills. Pass across the middle to Chandler. I like Chandler. Nice kid. He's running down the field, and he's in the territory, which is going to be a chip shot.
Yeah.
Field goal, Bills win. All of a sudden, who's chasing them? A couple of Falcons. Now Chandler's, he's holding the ball. What do you think in his mind as an NFL player making $7-8 million a year? What do you think he's thinking of? Well, I'm going to keep going. But there's guys chasing him. What do you think they're going to try to do, Scott? They're going to try to jar the ball loose. What do? Boom, the ball comes loose again. Here come the Falcons back. Falcons run down the field, chip shot, game over. Falcons win 34-31. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not rocket science. This is stupidity. I'm sorry. You got to hold on to the ball. Don't tell me, oh, it can happen. Oh, yeah, it can happen. You're supposed to hold on to the pigskin. I mean, it just cracks you up. Marrone in his post-news conference yesterday, I'm mad. Don't talk to me. I'm mad. I'm upset. But the Bills are the Bills. They're losers. And now there's rumors last week that Bon Jovi was going to buy the team. Please let that go be true. Take him to Siberia. I don't want to see him on Channel 5 or Channel 8 or Channel 6 on my TV. They are disgusting. They are the worst clowns in the NFL. And oh, by the way, I got data to prove my case. You as a Bills fan, you got nothing, baby. 14-9. And next week or the week after when I come back, me and Jim will be flipping the chart. I'll bring it in, and I'll flip it over for you. Come on, give me a break. And Rodgers, the guy in Toronto, Jimmy, who's a multi-billionaire, signed up for 5 more years to bring games to Toronto. And the Bills said, oh, yeah, we'll sign up. You know what they are in Toronto? 1-5. A home game. They're a joke. They're absolutely a joke. It's embarrassing. So you Bills fans, keep on talking proud because I do not believe. Hey, how about the Giants? Give them credit, man. Lose 6 in a row, win 4 in a row, lose a game against Dallas, a game they should have won. They come back last night on Sunday Night TV, and they beat the Skins in Washington 24-17. Never say die, Tommy Coughlin. Way to go, Tommy. Way to go, Giants. I don't know if they got a shot at the – Philadelphia's playing good. They got to win it out.
A couple tough games.
Cincinnati goes on the road, beats San Diego. Great win for that franchise. Denver knocks off KC. Not unexpected. New England finds a way to win. They beat Houston 34-31. How about the Jets? You know, if Jim Senecropi and myself or Woody Johnson, who's a billionaire as well, the owner of the Jets, you got to bring Rex Ryan in and say goodbye. Today you fire him. You just fire the guy. You send him to, God forsake, Topeka, Kansas. Get him the hell out of New York. He has lost the team. That team is not playing for Rex Ryan. I'm sorry. Look at that team. And oh, by the way, the West Virginia phenom, Mr. Gino, they got a new slogan going down there at Jet City. Gino is a zero. Gino is a zero. That kid throws the ball to all the other jerseys going the other way, and it's embarrassing. So if I was Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, I would have fired him this morning. Jim would have had it up on his website, and it didn't happen yet. But there's no way that Rex Ryan should remain as head coach, and I would fire him right now because this guy has totally lost the Jet franchise. How about Carolina? They struggled early in the year, but they are on a rampage led by the sensational Cam Newton at quarterback. He's turned his game around. They destroyed Tampa Bay. How about Jacksonville? We were making fun of them. I was on this show. They're playing pretty good football. In Cleveland yesterday, time running out, they're down by 3. They win by 4. Jacksonville, with a late score, beats the Browns in Cleveland. And ladies and gentlemen, the NFL continues, and the Bills continue to not impress anybody unless you are on drugs. Let's talk about the Knicks and Nets in the NBA. You know, I'm sick and tired of hearing about what's wrong with the Knicks and what's wrong with the Brooklyn Nets. You know, when I first saw, and I talked to Dave Barnick, who can speak volumes on the Boston Celtics history. Dave's a big Celtic fan.
Yep.
And Dave Barnick knows more about the Celtic franchise than most anybody. But when they gave up Pearson Garnett, I turned to my wife, who could care less about my comments about sports because she's in the knitting and QVC. I said, it's a good move by the Celtics. Why? Because Pearson Garnett, 3 letters, TFO. What's that mean? They're freaking old. TFO. They're freaking old. The Celtics gave up Garnett and Pierce for a reason. They've lost a step and a half. That's it. Why do you think they gave him up? If Pierce and Garnett were such great players and had game, you think Jim Senecropa, the general manager of the Celtics, would have traded those 2 clowns? Of course not. They've lost a step and a half. They're not spring chickens anymore. So all you people that say, what's wrong with the Brooklyn Nets? Come on. Get real.
And Jason Kidd's not a good coach. I don't, I'm surprising, he's had personality problems, domestic issues.
Oh, yeah.
He was a point guard. I don't know how smart of a guy Jason Kidd is, but that crap he pulled with the
I'm
Pepsi,
going to get to that. Yeah. I mean, come on. And how about the Knicks? I love Carmelo. Carmelo made Syracuse basketball while he was there. Everybody knows that. Jim Boeheim clearly states he's one of the best he's ever coached. The guy can shoot. No doubt about it. But when Carmelo's off, the team doesn't do much. And they let the other 4 players move to one side of the court, and they clear the way. They clear the path for Carmelo. Carmelo moves in. He dukes, he throws, swish. Sometimes he dukes, and he misses. When he has a bad night, they're not going to beat anybody.
Too much isolation.
I'm not shocked. The Knicks are 9 straight losses. They're 3-12. I'm not surprised. The Knicks are not that good, and Carmelo can shoot. When he's on, he's phenomenal.
He needs a complementary player like LeBron has Wade.
Yep.
Durant has Westbrook.
And to Jim's point, Jason Kidd's not the smartest bulb in the world. We're talking a 40-watt bulb here. What he pulled against the Lakers was hilarious. I saw it. Everybody saw it. They were making substitutions. Out comes one of the Nets. And you could see Jason Kidd's lips with his $700 suit on saying, hit me. And he walked right into him. Drink goes flying.
Now they got to clean the court. He's got
now
time
they got
to
clean the court.
Play.
Now he's got time with a few seconds to go to scheme a last-second play, which, by the way, the Nets lost by 2 to the Lakers. The Diet Coke is all over the floor. The NBA looked at it. He intentionally did that. His fine, $50,000.
Yeah, good. He should. That was a
$50,000.
Bush League.
I'd like to know about the fines, though, Jimmy. I wonder if they garnish their wages. Or does the owner, pick up the tab on that? Or does he have to pay it? I wonder who pays that $50,000. Does it really hurt Jason Kidd? Because I heard rumors that sometimes the ownership picks up the check. But $50,000 for that move. And I sincerely agree with David Stern, who's retiring, by the way, as the NBA commissioner. Love him or hate him, you got to give Stern credit. He's been a great commissioner. But Jason Kidd, come on, that was an amateur move. And it cost you $50,000. I'd love to know more about how these fines are handled, though. Does it really come out of his check, or does the Russian owner pick up the check? And by the way, my last comment. Jimmy and the crew were in Clyde-Savannah, one of my great spots. I always love going to Clyde for the opener of FingerLakes1.com, FingerLakes1 TV, you name it, baby. Call us what you want. We had our first telecast, podcast, call it what you want. Saturday night, a great crowd in Clyde. Mynderse Academy under Nick Ciotti, brand new coach there. His first game as head coach. Mynderse trailing by 11, 35-24 at halftime. Closes to within 6. Jimmy, you were there. Tell us a little bit about the game.
Yeah, Clyde's good. They're probably, just looking at the two teams, they're better than Mynderse. They got two guys, Jermaine Bogan and Cam DeSano, who are 6'5" and 6'6", and are seniors and are skilled. They can play inside, outside. Pretty dominant. Joe Fennell, the point guard, he's also the quarterback on the football team, was very impressive. He's probably the best athlete on the court. And then Clyde's got a kid named Mike Turner who pulled down 14 rebounds. And they didn't even hear of this kid going into the season. So Clyde is phenomenal. Mynderse has Luke Ruddy, probably the best big man in the whole Wayne Finger Lakes. But other than that, there's a lot of questions because they lose a 5-year starter in Brandon Pasalacqua. There's his backcourt mate, Jimmy Rickey, who is a real good three-point shooter. And so a lot of questions there. And so while Mynderse lost, I was impressed with head coach Nick Ciotti in his first year. He's got a good team. They got a lot of young guys. Devin Verkey, Liam Carraher, Brett Anderson, who's Jason Anderson's younger brother. He's only a freshman. They played 2 freshmen for significant minutes on Saturday night, and they hung with Clyde. They outscored them in the third quarter, and so I think it was a good game for both teams. Of course, Clyde avenged the loss to Mynderse last March or February in the state qualifier game in Waterloo when Mynderse beat Clyde, but it's going to be a great season of college basketball. Brendan Harrington, Matt Verkey, and Kevin Korzneski were on the call. You can watch the replay of that game on FingerLakes1.com. It's posted now, and it was a great night.
Yep.
Big gym, a full gym up in Clyde. It was a good opener.
I watched it when I got home late Saturday night. Brendan Harrington with the play-by-play, Matt Verkey, KK, Kevin Korzneski, along with the cameraman Jeremy Hunt, and Jimmy, of course, making the knobs and switches work. They did a nice job. Checked it out. For first broadcast, those guys did really well. Upcoming broadcasts, upcoming telecasts, again, you will not see a better brand of coverage than ours, and I know it's bragging, but truly check us out. We'll have our next game Wednesday night. David Barnick, South End David Barnick, will be in Romulus, New York, where I spent a lot of time doing games years and years and years ago when the Auburn boy was out there coaching. It's always been a great place for high school basketball. They're a young team. They're struggling right now to begin their season, but hey, they're taking on the likes of Dundee, Romulus Dundee, on Wednesday night.
And you want to check out this Dundee team, coached by Les Miller. They're going to contend in the Finger Lakes West. Romulus, it looks like they might. I don't know what the line on that game is, but Dundee's going to be heavily favored. Sure. But it's a good chance to get a look at this Dundee team, who's one of the tops in the West. Get a look at Romulus as they try to rebuild their program to like it was 10 years ago. That Romulus had great basketball program throughout the years.
I had the opportunity to do a lot of their games.
Really struggling the past few years.
Yeah. By the way, that'll be our next broadcast Wednesday night. Romulus will be the host. Dundee will be the visitor. And then on the 10th of December, just to give you the upcoming next game after that, the likes of Geneva will travel to Newark. Jimmy and the crew will be heading to Newark, New York. Dave Barnick will the play-by-play for the Romulus game with Matt Verkey, and they will David Barnick will be back for that Geneva-Newark game.
That's a big
He'll be
one.
assisted by Kevin Korzneski. That should be a humdinger as
Absolutely.
well. As for the dog is concerned, I'm literally getting excited. I didn't do any games last year. I did a couple the year before. I'm really pumped up for my first broadcast, which will be the December 27th, 2 days after Santa Claus leaves me another bag of coal. So I'm looking forward to working that game on the 27th.
And that's when Clyde comes back for the rematch.
I'll look forward to that. So that should be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to working with Matt Verkey and as well. So that's our lineup, folks. And again, hey, by the way, Monday Night Football, some of these are really ho-hum, fall asleep at 9:34. But tonight could be an exception. Got a good one. Seattle at home against the Saints. That one is a good one. The Saints traveling to Seattle. And you can say what you want about Seattle. I know it's the home of Starbucks. But let me tell you something, folks. There is not a home crowd in the NFL that matches Seattle. They scream from the get-go all the way through the game, whether they're up by 30 or down by 30.
Especially on a Monday night game.
It's going to be fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on Weber this week. And again, thanks to all my great sponsors for making this show possible. Well, I won't be here next week. Jimmy will be filling in for the dog. He will have Doug from Win Sports will be in town to talk about what he does, and looking forward to seeing some of that show a week from today. I'll be back on the 16th, and you folks have a wonderful week. And until next time we see each other on Weber This Week, take care, everybody. Enjoy your week.